doors, locked it up, and left. Everything inside as well. So in 2016, we bought it and had an archivist come in and tell us what was trash and treasure. So that took a little while, and I'm sure there was some pretty bad smells in there too to go along with it. We did a few repairs, but tried to keep it as original as possible, of course. When we first started a restaurant, it was just for the employees, and that kitchen was behind the plant. So it's a full kitchen, and we still use it today as a commissary kitchen to make our jams, jellies, pickled okra, and things like that. But when we opened up the store and started selling product here, people couldn't fathom coming here to buy stuff and then going somewhere else to eat. So that's when they decided to bring in the food trucks, which is what we cook out of right now. It's not ideal, especially when we have a lot of people. It's a little stressful sometimes, and we just try to keep up morale and keep going. One day, eventually, we'll hopefully build a full-size kitchen, because we definitely need that. So we added on the dining room for that, and then we have that wing over there where we sell meats and other goods. Everything on this side of the store is White Oak Pastures made. We try to use as much of the animal as we can. We still have around 9 tons of waste a day when we slaughter. That goes to compost, and I'll explain more about that when we get over to the church. Morning. In 1866, we had, or around late 1800s, we had a bank and a hotel on this street as well. The only businesses in town now are the general store, the post office, and the peanut processing plant, which is right over there, and I'll show you that. So we can walk if y'all are ready, and we'll walk to a church building that's now our event space. So back in 300, 600 AD, the Cherokee Indians settled here, and it's where the Appalachian Trail goes subterranean. We have the Flint River, Chattahoochee River close by. I get a lot of questions of, do we always have this set up like this? And we do. We have a lot of events out here, more and more since I started. And we try to bring in the community. Every Thursday night I plan an event for the employees. We have 180 employees and 3,500 acres of farm.
What's your name?
Ma'am?
What's your name?
Tara. I'm sorry. Tara Martin. Yes,
okay. Oh, good.
We have an equine department as well, and we have a manager there. She'll do trail rides and pony rides for kids. I think we have 8 horses right now.
Where are they? They're not here.
There, if you go,
That's
if
the
you go
horses
straight
we probably
behind
passed.
back there on
Yeah.
that road,
Yeah.
you'll see them in a field back there, and we might see them as we walk around to the major space.
So that many employees, what's the total population, including kids and spouses?
So total population here in Bluffton is 103.
Okay, so a lot of the employees then obviously live elsewhere and
Correct.
commute in?
They
Okay.
do. So I live about 30 minutes south of here. I live on 60 acres south. But most of the employees live either Blakely, Edison, Arlington, Cuthbert, Fort Gaines, just surrounding. We do have employees that live on farm, but there's not a lot. This was the old courthouse / jail. There's one cell in there. Still, that is Mr. Will's office. That metal building down there to the right is our admin building. This is Ruger. He's a 13-year-old bird dog, and he follows us around every day and talks. I really think that he could give the tour if we could translate what he was saying. That would be great. The peanut processing plant's down there on the left as well. Of course, we don't grow peanuts or anything. It doesn't quite work with organic.
So how many of the houses, you all still have houses for employees, correct, in this area? How many of you y'all done in the Bluffton area to serve employees? Any future plans to expand that, or is that pretty much?
Well, we could do it with that one, but
Yeah.
it's going to take a little bit of work.
Right.
We would love to buy some other ones in town, but there are people who don't love the progress of White Oak Pastures and the traffic they're bringing into their small,
Gotcha.
quiet
Sure,
town.
Sure, yeah.
So they're not willing to sell.
Understood.
So there are some that are just run down, and we could make beautiful and get into things, but they won't sell it. And
What about
I've
that house
heard,
right there? Nobody's,
Yeah.
yeah, nobody's.
right,
talking
right.
about.
No, that's the one?
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
This was an old schoolhouse. It's a community center now where they use it for special events. We're actually having our Christmas party in here. I'm not exactly sure how the men decided that we should have it here, but it's really not big enough. So I have a feeling we're all going to be outside. We'll go in there and get food and then congregate out here. This was an old Methodist church, and that is a functioning First Baptist church there. We usually don't have people washing cars at the front, but that's new to me this time. But we're going to walk around and go inside.
Oh no! I did not know that you were bringing a group.
No, it is fine. We just get to see you work hard.
Okay.
Watch this cord.
You also don't know where you're going.
Yes. And you guys can have a seat anywhere where you can see this TV that I was rushing around trying to figure out how to make work. Those, some keys.
That's it.
I will turn on lights and I'll show you. And I'll try and slow down my talking. When I get nervous, I talk fast. So, that's one of the things that Jody asked me to learn was all the history of the farm so I can help her give tours. I don't necessarily love standing up in front of people talking. But I learned it and growing more comfortable with it as I go. I definitely am a behind the scenes type of girl. I'd rather not be seen or heard and just flutter around and do my own thing. Back in that back corner is Mr. Will's great grandfather. He's the one that has started the farm here in Bluffton. Originally, the Harris family had land in Quitman County, which is a little bit north of here. When the Civil War happened, he put up his land for collateral to buy ammo and supplies. And when the South lost the war, he lost his land. Thankfully, he had an uncle here in Bluffton who settled him here. So that's where the land started, here in Bluffton. He raised multiple species of animals, and he would slaughter several and then bring them into town to sell. And then his son did the exact same thing, the next picture with the horse, and just grew the acreage. Grew the acreage, grew how many animals he had, still multiple species of animals. And then Mr. Will's dad here in the suit, he was a child of the Great Depression. And when World War II happened, that's where everything industrialized. He went to one species of animal, cattle. And Mr. Will always says, you know, they definitely made money with just cattle, but it was destroying the land. That's when he brought in chemicals, fertilizers, subtherapeutic antibiotics in the cattle and things like that. So whereas land turned to this, and it's less than 1% organic matter. 20 years later, after Mr. Will has worked hard to get back to the way things were, multiple species of animals, we are more than 5% organic matter back in the soil. So we're not stripping it anymore, and we're using animal impact to help the soil. If you'll notice, each man had one son, right? Mr. Will's dad had Mr. Will, one son, and then Mr. Will had 3 daughters. So the one son thing ended with Mr. Will. He was 4th generation, his daughters are 5th, and their children are 6th generation. You see their reserve sign there. 2 of his daughters work on the farm. Jenny on the right, she, I don't know if y'all can see, you gotta go over. She is over marketing. She handles all of the administrative aspects of the farm, selling to customers, handling shipping, selling to Whole Foods, Publix, and things like that. She handles all of that. Jody on the left, that's my boss. She's over tourism. She's over the general store. She's over our lodging, events, and things like that. We have 3 houses in town, Southern Red Oak, Post Oak, and Chinquapin Oak House, that we rent to guests who are staying. And then we have 4 forest cabins and a pond house as well that we rent out. And by the way, when we go back to the store, if you didn't get a map or any brochures that you would like, I can get those for you. So you can see like the layout of the land and see kind of what all we offer. We do have an internship program where people can come. You apply to be an intern here for 12 weeks. You will pay to be an intern, but you will also get paid to work here. They'll do every aspect of working on the farm. So they'll work with every animal, and they'll work with a mechanic shop, they'll work with fencing crew, they'll work, what else? I wish they would send them to landscaping, that would help me a lot, but they don't do landscaping. I'm trying to talk them into that. And of course, with work right now, we're having a hard time finding employees that are reliable and have a license, and that's what I struggle with the most. Thankfully it's wintertime and landscape is not going crazy, but I do manage getting all of that cut and weed eated and looking somewhat decent. Before I got here, they did not have that, and it was just pretty overgrown. So with each year, I think, you know, different things they're able to take on and do a little bit better. So it's just finding people who are consistently here. That would be great. We do have beehives. Last year, I think he made 80 gallons of honey, and he's doubled the size of the hives over this past year. So hopefully we'll get double that this next year. We have an organic vegetable garden that struggles, but we are able to sell a lot of our produce that we are able to get in the store, and then we sell it to the food truck as well. And you guys will eat that occasionally. And if it's White Oak Pastures made or grown, it'll have WOP beside it. That's so you'll know on your menus. I'm trying to think what else. We have 5 red meat species: cows, goats, sheep, hogs, rabbits. And we have 5 poultry species: geese, guinea, duck, turkeys, and chickens. We just slaughtered all of our turkeys, I think it was around 1,000 turkeys for Thanksgiving. We work overtime for that because it's got to all be done in a certain amount of time. We do have a USDA inspector that has to be in each side of our processing plant. We have a red meat plant and we have a poultry plant. So we have a USDA inspector who has to stay in the red meat side and in the poultry side. They have their own office space, they have their own shower, because that was required for them to work here. We cannot operate without them. So they check the heart, liver, lung, and lymph nodes of each animal that we slaughter and either approve that we can sell it or not. As far as I know, we've never had an animal condemned. I don't know if that's luck or it's just the way it is whenever you raise them like we do. I'm going to show some videos, and hopefully I think you're old enough to be able to handle it. We've got some younger kids who kind of don't love it, but there's blood and guts, and I'm going to show you how we process animals. Some of it, like the poultry side, I don't have a video of the kill floor because chickens are calmer in the dark. So they're under black light when we bring them in, and I'll kind of explain that a little bit more. Do you have any questions so far? I'm just rattling off. Okay. This is our, didn't like it. It's our red meat side. This is the kill floor. This is Cedric. He's worked here since 2008 when we opened up the processing plant. He's a ex-football player, very strong. He's the one that issues the captive bolt. So it's a kind of a rod, a steel rod that goes into the skull. The hole is not this big, you know, it's a perfect little circle, cylindrical circle. This is kind of chipped away a little bit. But what that does is it renders them senseless and just puts them in a vegetative state. They are very much alive, heart pumping and everything. They just can't feel pain. So the thing in our brain that tells us that being pinched hurts, they no longer have that. That is what the captive bolt does. So he takes his time a little bit because there's involuntary movement that happens, and I think he's gotten hurt a few times with that. He'll string her up by her hind legs, and they are normally 30 months and 1,000 pounds when they come to slaughter. Now, we try not to slaughter any mamas who are steady giving us babies because we can use them. Bulls, we do bull checks to check and make sure they can handle impregnating. If they're not going to be big enough, the big bulls will not let them. So we usually put them to the side in another smaller herd until they're big enough to come to the processing plant. We have 1,000 mama herd who is having babies right now. They started in during Thanksgiving. And then we have so they're the winter calving herd. We have a summer calving herd that's smaller. On this side of 27, we're kind of landlocked a little bit. We've got some land in between some other land. So we have to move that smaller herd via trailer. The big mama herd is on, the winter calving herd is on the other side of 27, and we're not landlocked over there. They're able to move from pasture to pasture. Our pastures there are 30 acres fenced in. They'll demolish that in a day, and then we move them. So our cattleman Scott moves them every day. I'll show you some videos of that as well. So after he gets her hung up, he'll stab the heart, cut the carotid. He collects the blood because, like I said before, we try to use everything we can. We will take that blood and put it in an anaerobic digester that is out there beside the plant, and it'll process that blood, and we spread it back out onto the fields right and left of the processing plant. Now, the government tells us that we cannot graze those two fields, but we are allowed to grow hay and feed the cows the hay. So we use that blood back out on the land as fertilizer. He'll cut off the head at that point, swing her around over here, skin off the hide and the fat, eviscerate. That's where the USDA inspector comes in and checks the heart, liver, lung, and lymph nodes. They'll swing her around, cut her in half with this bandsaw here, and they'll be broken into 2 carcasses, 2 halves. That will go into the cooler overnight. So here in the U.S. we cannot cut hot meat, it has to be cold. So it will stay in the cooler for 24 hours before it's taken to be cut. On the weekends, it's 48 hours. We only operate Monday through Friday. This group, well, every video that you're gonna see, all of these people at the end of their day, when they're done, they drop everything and another crew comes in to do the cleanup. So these guys are exhausted at the end of every day. These guys are skilled at what they do. I've heard that they're the highest paid employees on the farm because we want to keep them happy and here. So we do about 25 to 30 head of cattle a day, which is very small in comparison to your big processing plants. We are a river, not a lake. We just do what we can. We'll bring in hogs and rabbits, you know, according to the demand. So basically whatever the demand is what we bring in for slaughter. Any questions on this?
Do they do 30 every day? Like, is that Monday through Friday they're doing 30 every day?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
And for hogs, I think they do around 30 every day, or when the demand is there. So if they were to do hogs, they would not be doing cattle.
Okay.
So is cattle the number one demand?
It is.
I would imagine rabbits are down low.
Yeah, it's few. It's few. But we do, I mean, we do get some demand for that, but cattle definitely is number one. And of course, bacon. I mean, everybody loves bacon.
Why did you decide to open your own processing plant as opposed to just outsource?
Good question. So when Mr. Will first started this, he was driving the cattle to Tifton, which is 2 hours, I think it's 2 hours from here, back and forth. And he just decided if he was gonna do this thing, he might as well do all of it. So that's why he opened up. And we just, you know, we started the beef processing side 2008. We didn't do poultry until 2011. And that was a hard decision. It's definitely called the money suck of the farm. We don't make money on poultry at all. We actually lose money on poultry, but the benefit of poultry to the land is worth it to us. So we keep it.
And then of the employees, what's the breakdown between those that just operate the farm and those that operate the production for the?
I would say it's about half and half.
Okay.
I mean, I would say as many people who work here at the processing plant for beef and poultry, and then we have the commissary kitchen there, and then we have IFC, and then we have a lady who sits and stares at a conveyor belt every day and looks at eggs to make sure they're good to sell. We have that as well. So between that and then we have here on the farm, you know, we have the general store, and each species of animal has a manager and a crew. So every day these animals are monitored, fed, watered, moved. You know, even the hogs and chickens, we move them every day. So each one is different, you know, how we move them. Cattle, when they see Mr. Scott's Jeep pull up, they come to the gate. He also has a call sign as well that they'll come to. The hogs, they're moved kind of like in a pinwheel. They decided that it would be better to have a center where you have water and food, and they'll do like a pie angle out into the woods. So what they'll do is they have to work the land in because they're having to go back and forth from shade to food and water. So they go back and forth and they work that land. Then they just move the fence to that next pie section, so they go all the way around. So it works out well. Chickens are in a mobile structure. Sometimes we use old cotton modules. We've recently bought some new houses that are built a little different, have some of that white plastic on them. They seem to be working pretty well, but we move them with tractors. So we'll take up the fence, move them slowly, and then put the fence back up. Now we do have guard dogs with all of our poultry. They are a mix of Anatolian Shepherd and Great Pyrenees. They help with our four-legged predators, but not so much with our eagles. We get a lot of eagles who come and snatch up our chickens. Mr. Will see an eagle and say, I bet his breath smells like chicken. So they do take a lot of our chickens. That might be another reason why we lose money. As far as eggs go, we do have birds that we just, use for eggs. And what was I gonna go? Oh, we sell those 4 dozen at a time online, so we'll ship them to you 4 dozen at a time, unwashed. In the store and in your cabins, if you're staying here, they are washed. We're not allowed to sell them in the store unwashed, and we're not allowed to put them in the cabins unwashed. So of course they would last longer if we could. So this is the next room. So after they've sat for 24 hours or 48 hours over the weekend, they come to this room. This guy's a breaker. There are at least 2 other men in here that can do the same thing. They'll rotate. It's below freezing in there and he's sweating bullets because that's a really hard job. So he'll break that apart, throw it on the table, and they will continue to make the cuts for the day. They have a list that they're going by. So whatever people have ordered, that's what they're cutting. And then extra stuff will go to the ground beef room, which I'll show you as well. They still have, like I said, 9 tons of waste a day. They go to compost. Our compost we use back out onto the land as well. We have huge piles of it. As you go north on 27 to the right, it's kind of back in the back a little bit. But if you look, you can kind of see them. We layer our compost with carbaceous material, so we use cotton gin trash, wood chips, peanut hulls, and we do it like lasagna. So we'll do our 9 tons of waste, and then the trash, and then the waste, and then the trash, and then we flip it, turn it, measure it, and decide when it's ready to go back out onto the land. We have a spreader that will spread it back out onto the land. We have a bone grinder as well that will grind up the bones, but as all big machines like to do, not work sometimes. So we have a lot of, if you go out into the pasture, which you're allowed to do here, anything with a green gate is White Oak Pastures. If it's closed, close it back. If it's open, leave it open. That's the rule here. And if it's closed, please make sure you close it back, or we'll have some loose cattle out somewhere. Any questions there?
Is the cattle business growing? You said 30 a day.
Yes, we could definitely do more. That's not really Mr. Will's goal. We have a lot of classes happening now. We do a Center for Agricultural Resilience, and we also do an immersive introduction to regenerative agriculture, hoping to teach other farmers to take this where they're at. He doesn't really want to get bigger. He just wants to teach what he does to others so they can do it, because he knows that he can't feed the world.
Right.
So
He has a good podcast. Have you listened to his podcast?
Yeah,
On
on
Joe
Joe
Rogan.
Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
That's
Yeah,
how we
that's what
first
he
found out
says.
about him a couple months ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was great.
yes,
Yeah.
it was very good.
I'm really surprised Whole Foods is still buying from us.
Feels a little critical.
Yeah.
What
So
do,
maybe they thought the lashback from not buying our product
Yeah,
would be more
yeah,
than,
maybe.
So we'll see. There is a cryovac machine over here that you can't see, where we seal all of our meat as well. Of course, grass-fed beef, you all know, is tougher. There's not as much fat, so it's better aged. We would never suggest that you buy anything in the store and go home that night and cook it. It needs to age. That's one of the things. And it, even aged, you gotta cook it right, and you can't cook it to death. You gotta see a little bit of blood for it to be good. And I have a hard time with that because I don't like that. So, this is our ground beef room. This is where all that extra goes. Well,
So the tallow is all the fat from the cattle? That's what,
yeah. I'll explain that when we go over to the makerspace a little
Okay.
bit. So they're making our 1 pound pack, ground beef packs that we sell to Publix and Whole Foods. Of course, now we do all kinds of different blends. We have a paleo blend that is our most popular ground beef blend. People know that they need organ meat in their diet. They don't necessarily love the taste of it. So you mix it in with some ground beef, ta-da, it doesn't taste like organ meat anymore. So it's pretty good. We also have a piggyback blend. Bacon and ground beef, can't go wrong there.
That's cool.
You will definitely see more variety of things online. It sells quick and we usually put it online. We have a good bit of stuff in the store, but we definitely run out faster there than we do online as well. So if you don't see something in the store that you want, check out online and see, and check often. It just depends on what the demand is. Y'all have any questions here? Alright, so like I said with poultry, I don't have a video of the kill floor. We have a guy named Cheetah. He is over 70 and he goes out at 4 o'clock every morning and catches the kill for the day. So he, along with some other young people who can keep up, and they still struggle to keep up, he catches 1,000 a day and crates them and brings them to the processing plant. Of course, at 4 a.m. they're a little bit slower. They're not as quick, and he'll snatch up. I've watched him, he'll do like 5 in each hand and just grab them by their feet and flip them upside down and crate them. He's very fast. But you can tell he's always smiling. He loves it. So it's great. So when they get to the plant, there's a rack, and they'll hang them up by their feet. Again, they're calmer in black light, or dark, and they're calm upside down. So we try to create less stress, less adrenaline for that process. And going back to red meat, the cattle, we had a lady, Dr. Temple Grandin. Have y'all heard of her? You have? So she designed our processing plant for our animals. Cattle don't like shadows. They don't like sharp left turns. They come in the night before so they can settle down before the kill day. They come in shoots and soft curves. So it's just very minimal stress to the cattle, and that way we don't have that adrenaline taste in our beef because of that. So we'll string back to poultry, sorry, I'm all over the place. We'll string them up by their feet, and they have a gun that's a stun gun and a knife at the same time. So it'll stun them and cut at the same time. So it's a tap, cut, tap, cut, tap, cut, tap, cut all the way down the line. They'll bleed out, same thing with the blood. We put in an anaerobic digester and spread it back out on the field. Once that's done, they come into this room where this guy in the back is putting them in scalding water to loosen the feathers. This is a huge clucker. I think it can do 20 to 30 chickens at a time. So it has these black rubber fingers. It's just spinning and taking the feathers off. I think that's a really cool invention, make things a little bit faster. Then they'll go to this, he'll pull them out, check, make sure all the feathers are gone. He cuts off the feet. Of course, we use the feet as pet chews as well. Once he's done here, they'll get passed through to this window. And feathers will just be trash. There's not really much we found that we can do with those. Any questions here?
What do y'all do with the chickens that are done laying eggs? Like they don't lay eggs no more, so there's like no purpose for them.
It depends. I mean, it depends on their size. It depends on, I guess, how they're looking. I definitely think that they'll slaughter them,
Yeah.
but they're not the best for that.
Yeah.
So this is the next room. This is where the USDA inspector is here. You don't see him in this picture. He has a hat. They always have this white helmet hat on, hard hat. I think we could actually make some money with poultry if people would just buy the whole chicken. But nowadays, nobody knows how to cut up a whole chicken. So we have to, they want their boneless, skinless chicken breasts, their thighs, their wings, and so that just takes extra work. And it pays people extra money to do so. We do have them in a lactic acid wash here. It's killing any kind of germs or anything on their outer skin before we make the cuts. Again, the USDA inspector checks the heart, liver, lungs, and lymph nodes of every bird that we process. And these people will as well, as soon as they're done for the day, they'll drop everything, and then that second crew will come in, and they usually work all night long cleaning. So you guys have heard, well, I'll show you the internet fulfillment center first. This is behind the processing plant. This is where we ship out all of our product. So we have pickers who have lists of names and what they're wanting. They go in these refrigerated trucks and pick out what they need, box it up in dry ice and ship it out. We use FedEx and UPS, depending on which one is doing better. We never burn bridges, but it's always the case that one is doing better than the other at different times. So,
What's your distribution area? How far do you distribute product?
all over. I mean, I don't know that I'm pretty sure we've shipped some stuff overseas even.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So throughout the continental US?
Yes, sir.
How about that?
Yes, sir. And it's becoming more and more. Like our sales have definitely increased since Joe Rogan.
Sure.
And traffic has increased since Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So the word's getting out for sure. This was not a thing when I grew up. Bluffton was here, and Mr. Will was doing his thing. When I graduated high school, he was just getting started turning this land. And transitioning, he said it was very painful to do. They lost money, of course, and it was not an easy transition, but he knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he felt called to do, and it's definitely beneficial to the land. Solar farms are going up everywhere around us, of course, and they were using chemicals and fertilizers to control the grass under the panels. And so Mr. Will suggested that we use animals to control it. So we have a contract with several of the solar farms around to graze our sheep under the panels. Now occasionally we will put chickens out there. They help with the nitrogen level in the soil for sure. And we need way more sheep than what we have. So we really don't slaughter our sheep unless they're like injured beyond repair or whatever. So they have a lot of work to do, and they're constantly having babies as well. We have this contract with Bancroft, which is 8 miles south of here. It's 1,400 acres of solar panels. 1,400 acres, 1,200 of that is solar panels. And then we have 2 other solar farms, one close to Arlington, and then another one going out towards Fort Gaines, that they are also signing contracts with us to do the same thing. So that's pretty cool. Of course, we can't do cattle out here, they'll destroy it. Pigs would uproot it, goats would jump on top of it, so the sheep are the best option. So that's been really cool. This is one of our cattle moves. This is one of our longer cattle moves. Like I said, we're normally jumping from one pasture to the next. You see how they all congregate to the gate. This is Scott's Jeep here. When they see that, the old ones know to come, but then you have scrabblers back here that are new. Also moms who have just had babies. They don't push hard with those. He has walkers, he'll come behind and kind of push slowly. But you know, if you stress mamas out too much, they'll stop milk production. It'll make the baby sick as well. So we don't push hard. If they aren't moving, we leave them and leave the gate open and let them go on their own. Those at the front are ones that have been here a long time. They know what to do. And they're ready. And a lot of the older moms will go scope out the new land and then come back and get their baby. So we leave the gate open. They will do 30 acres, like I said, in a day, graze it down. Of course, we don't like them to graze it down to where it's nothing. We would like them to graze it down a little bit and then move them on. We don't want them to destroy the pasture. Right now, we're not moving them because we do, they call it hay bombing. So we'll do a sacrifice pasture. We'll bring in a bunch of hay, and that gets brought in every day for them to eat. And it's usually a pasture that's struggling, right, to thrive. So the manure from the cattle, them beating it into the ground, the haylage from hay spilling onto the ground, over the next year, that pasture looks amazing after all of that. So we're really working that land, enriching it again. So they don't move during the winter so much. And you know, this big herd is actually calving right now, so we don't really like to move them that much when they're having a bunch of babies. They are really cute though. I get to watch a lot of cattle moves because again, I'm over events and education and stuff, so we'll take that tour trailer out there and people who are here for the classes will go out and watch cattle moves. And that's pretty cool. That never gets old to me.
How many acres are dedicated to the cattle?
All of it.
All of it, and which is?
It's probably around 3,000 acres between, you know, our acreage that's taken up by buildings or processing plant. I would say around 3,000.
And
because they rotate the cattle,
yeah.
Same thing they do with the hogs and the sheep and the goat. They all take turns. And Mr. Will can go out into a pasture and tell you, sheep need to go here, chickens need to go here. He can tell by the way the land looks what needs to go there.
So each pasture's about 30 acres.
Yes,
So
sir.
you got times 10, so you got 10 pastures.
Any producing, you know, like, produce like wheat or corn or just to sell? No, it's all animal.
All animals, yes ma'am. Now we have, if you see corn or wheat or soybeans or peanuts, cotton, all that's somebody else's land. And some of that is mixed in with ours. We're on this side, like I said, we're landlocked with some of that. And some of that's Mr. Will's kinfolks that won't sell to him either. So that definitely happens.
So you said right now you're not moving them a lot, but typically, how often are you moving them? Is it once every couple of days, or every
Every day.
every day
Every day they move.
onto a different 30-acre pasture?
Yes, sir.
Even, but not this time of year, or is that?
No, not
Okay.
this time of year. Now, we do move our hogs, but it's cattle that doesn't move. Now, our hogs move, our chickens move, sheep move. Well, yeah, they're out under those. Goats move. It's just our cattle who
And
help.
from when to when do you stop moving?
So we start around Thanksgiving. We lock them in that land, that pasture that we need that benefit from, and then by late February, early March.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. And you're moving them every day after that. On
Yes,
the
sir.
30. And then how many head per acre then? What does that equate to?
So the 1,000 mama herd, that one moves every day. Your
Okay.
smaller herds, they might take a couple days. And on this side of 27, I'm not exactly sure what our acreage is per pasture. It's gonna vary because we have some land that's not ours.
Okay.
So that's not as consistent as what is that we made consistent on the other side of 27.
Gotcha. So you got 1,000 head up on 30 acres every day moving and everything. And they take that down to what typically, like 4 inches, 6 inches? What's the?
That's more, it just depends. So it's all over the place, you know, so it's nothing, it's not a clean cut, you know,
Right.
so we have a lot of different things that they eat and some things that they don't eat. We do have this one invasive weed that's kind of taking over. It's called a soda apple. There is a beetle apparently that will eat just that soda apple wheat that Mr. Will has put out onto the land, which is a little scary because, you know, once it runs out of soda apple, I don't know what it's going to go to next.
Right.
So we'll see how that works. Everything's trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, that came from birds, you know, bringing it over from somewhere else. So we get that kind of stuff as well.
I think you talked about that a little bit on the podcast, bringing that with so how long have you been trying that? Does it look like it's working? Does it seem to be effective?
He says it's working, but not as much as he needs it to work because, you know, the cows and goats and sheep, they do eat it.
Yeah.
And then defecate, and the seeds get spread more. So it's not happening as fast as we need it to. So at least they're eating it.
Yeah.
I just don't know what benefit they get from that.
Do you cut your own hay for this time of year?
We do. We do. We have pastures here that we cut, and then we also have land that's managed the same way we manage ours that we cut as well. Let's see, this one I was going to show you. These are our farrowing huts for the hogs when they're having their babies. Sometimes mamas will crush the babies, not on purpose. You know, they roll over and the babies get crushed. So these help the babies have a little spot to get out from underneath the mama, and it saved quite a few actually. Now, that's if the mamas actually go in there to have the babies. They don't always listen to what we want them to do, and they'll go out in the pasture and just have the babies on their own.
like that.
But they're checked daily and several times a day. So, and like I said, all of it's learning. We used to not do this, and we used to not have the feed and water in one location and have them go out in pie formation. That just happened last year. So you learn different techniques that work better throughout the years. You can definitely see where they're rooting around. We do use them in the organic garden as well. We'll fence off an area for them to till up the soil before we plant. So it's pretty cool to watch as well. The ones out there right now are very curious, and every time I drive up out there, they come running up to the truck and they're like, "What you got? What you got?" They're like little dogs. This is another video of our big mama herd, the 1,000. We had a girl here last year. She helped with our EOV, which is ecological verification outcome. So we send off our soil samples all the time to be tested, make sure everything's going like it should. She also liked to fly the drone around, so we got a lot of cool videos from her doing that. This one, we have a lot of, you know, life cycles with birds as well. We have the white birds are going to fly up in a second, and one almost takes out the drone, and you can see it kind of stop
There you
from
go.
that. So that's pretty cool. Very beautiful land. I love working outside, like I said.
So talk about all the wildlife that's come back, eagles and bugs and everything. But what about like wild turkeys, deer? I mean, is plentiful from that side as well?
Oh,
What's
yeah. And the wild hogs, they're everywhere, which we don't necessarily love because they tear up our fences. They're not trained like our hogs are to polywire.
Right.
And they will break into our fences and impregnate our mamas. And also take off with some.
Interesting.
So it's very frustrating. We have to watch that a lot. You can definitely see the babies that have been impregnated by the wild hogs. They have a little black stripe on the back. So we try not, we try to handle all of those things for sure. This is a video that I want to show you about the water, the rain that we get, and kind of what our land does versus farming crops due to when water happens. And I'm going to let him talk.
Oh my gosh.
That is insane.
Sorry, I'm gonna make that a little bit louder. Oh,
This incredible device removes
all right. Pretty good. I keep hitting the wrong thing. Here we go.
Alright, so here we're looking at a pretty good rainy day here in Bluffton, Georgia, at White Oak Pastures. And what we're seeing is there's a pivot of corn across the road here. On one side that's not White Oak Pastures, and then on the other side of the road that is White Oak Pastures. And what I think is important to talk about in this particular site is looking at the water coming out of the healthy system here at White Oak, where we do have some runoff with the amount of heavy rain we've had today. So that water's coming off clear. There's very little sign of erosion and soil movement and loss of topsoil, which is super important compared to the conventional corn system that we've got on this side, where all that couple hundred acres of corn ground is eroding away and washing that topsoil off into this along with it is coming whatever chemical fertility has been added to it, and topsoil is life. So that system over there is definitely grading today, right in front of us, whereas this system on this side is packed, resilient, holding on to as much water as it can, and what shedding off of it is clean, and then they're ready to drain. So pretty interesting.
The water from the left is coming off of about right at 2,000 acres, that's a little over 2,000 acres of land. And it's coming off a little over 200 acres of land. And it just visually, it looks like more water coming off the 200 and something than off the 2,000 or something. You get the quality of the water, just the quantity of it.
That's one of the videos that's pretty cool to watch and see how much our land holds
This
on
incredible device removes 50 times more earwax than
to water. So we're gonna walk over, if y'all don't have any more questions, we're gonna walk over to the maker space and I'll kind of talk to you guys about what we do with all of our, how we make all of our products.
Okay.
There we go.
Smells good in here. Just get back a little bit.
So does everyone know what tallow is? It's that suet fat around the kidneys, and it's very clean fat. And that's what we use to make our candles, soaps, body washes, moisturizers, salve, lip balm, chapsticks, all of those things. They make them in that room next door. She does most of that, don't you? I see you here every day doing it. We also make our pet chews here. We have our hair on and hair off. The hair on, they say helps with a dog's digestive system. So they have a dehydrating machine that it's back there behind that room, and the lower level as well as 2 floors. It's very hot in there. I don't think I could work in there at all. I think no, I couldn't do it. No. So there are special people who go in that room. In the back we have a fleshing machine that takes all the flesh off of our hides as well. So we can get them to this point. We soak them in a lye wash, and then a clean water wash, lye, clean water to scrape off all the hair. That's a big process as well. All of our rugs that we get, they come from, we send them to Sebring, Florida, a tannery there, and they tan it with chromium salt. And you can buy our rugs. They usually is special order situation, and we do get a lot of custom orders for sure. All of our other leather that we make stuff out of, and there's a basket of it right there. It comes from a tannery in New York. It's Pergamena, and they tan with vegetable oil. So they'll take the oil from trees and tan it. I've heard that it's a very stinky process. Like a lot of places don't do it anymore because cities don't like it because it smells. I don't think I've ever smelled it. I don't know. But like I said, they get a lot of custom orders. Jamie and Walker work a lot on those custom orders, making bags and purses and suitcases and all kinds of things. We have this Glowforge machine here. It's weird to me that it's not running because it's always running, but it will print anything you want on items. So leather, bone, wood. It won't do PVC, I've heard. That's very toxic, like if you were to burn into PVC. This is actually a rib bone from a cow. After we've gotten our bone broth out of it, they'll bring them over here and we'll make name tags out of it. Of course, they will dry it out as much as they can and coat it in polyurethane so moisture doesn't get to it, because that can create a smell that's not good. They used to not put polyurethane on it, and my previous one that I got originally did not smell so great. I'd have it hanging around my neck going, what is that smell? So, but they perfected that for sure. What else? Oh, Timberland boots. They have done leather from here and made boots out of them. They sent those to Mr. Will. Of course, Mr. Will only wears one type of boot and has his whole life and probably will never change. So I guess those boots are just going to stay there, which is very sad, because if they were my size, I would definitely wear them. So.
What's his preferred boot?
Do you know what it is? I haven't. I'll have to ask him that question, because I do get that question a lot.
Yeah.
And he's got his hat. You know, he definitely has his hat that he reorders every time he needs one. Huh?
That one hat.
That one hat. Yep. He's normally here breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And he's in his office some, and he's riding around some in his gray Jeep, and just managing all the managers. So it's been pretty cool. Do y'all have any questions?
Where's this hat come from?
I gotta find that out too. Let's go see how knowledgeable the store girls are.
Oh, this stuff is so good.
If you want, take her to the shower room.
Yes.
Towel room? Yeah,
And like I
we
said,
can.
I can
If she don't mind, we'd love to.
And brochures if you want. Also, a ton of information online about our whole farm.
If you guys want, I can bring her to the shower room.
Yeah.
Sure.
She's gonna show you what she does.
Oh wow, so they actually make candles.
This is where I just made that soap that was in here.
Okay,
I had made, yeah, I had made some soap. I'm gonna get ready to put it on the soap right there.
everything happening, while the Teller products, Lord products come from. These like candles that I made last week, like 69 candles. I make a lot of candles, a lot.
They smell good.
This is Teller from Ashley Explained from Cow's TV.
So you
want
don't
to touch
use
it?
pig lard or anything? Y'all don't use any of the pig to make candles or any of the
Lard.
Yeah.
Only thing we use for lard is lard soap and lip gloss. That's what we use for lard. Those two items. And in the mixer, this is where we make like the moisturizers and stuff. Those are up here are the essential oils that we use.
So it's not like fragrance oil, it's actual oil.
Essential oils. The fragrance oils are down here at the bottom that we use for like candles and stuff. It's like over a bunch of them. It's a lot. The essential oils we use for we use them in candles also too, but most of the time we use our essential oils for like body products, like for the moisturizer and the salve and the lip balm and stuff like that. And also the body wash and foam soap. And these folks make the body wash and foam soap. I'm making body wash right now. I'm making stargazer. This is part of the process of making body wash and foam soap. Like you measure out your oils and stuff, and you lie in the water, you mix it together, it comes like this. And you have to mix it until it gets into like a paste. And it cooks for like a couple days until you get ready to dilute it, and it comes like this. And then we have to thicken it with the ingredients that we have.
How many times have you burned yourself?
Burn? Like with the lye?
When you're processing all this?
All the time. Because the stuff pops up on the skin and
Do you use all the products you make?
No, I only use one, and that's moisturizer. I can't really put too much stuff on my skin because I have very bad skin, sensitive skin, eczema, and there's certain things I can put on my skin.
Do you use the moisturizer on your face?
I just use it on my body. Yeah. That's all I use that I make. I don't put the other stuff in. Yeah, it's moisturizer. It's real. It makes the skin soft. That's why I like it. It's my favorite. It's my number one thing I like to make. The whole is moisturizer. It's pretty fun in there. It's kind of like science room.
All the kids
Oh, it's 22 and I'm a virgin.
That's pretty good.
Here, she said she had 6 boys and 1 girl.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Gabe. He's out for pony rides. You're welcome.
This holiday season,
Yeah.
I have maps and stuff over here.
Good, how are you?
Where would you recommend we
Okay, so these are a good knowledge of like kind of where our land is and what is in between front and back. But if you want to know where animals are, there at front, there's a map and there's little animal magnets. So each magnet has a different animal on it. So you gotta look a little close for it, but you can see where they're at, and those are just main roads that are very easy to get to.
Okay,
So
great.
you can see where those are placed, and then you can go see them there. So any animal you would like. And there's different brochures, lodging, talks about our internship program, just about White Oak Pastures horseback riding, so you can take any of those that you'd like.
Great.
Okay.
You guys have any questions?
I think so.
You're very
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good.
so
Glad
much.
you enjoyed it.
Right.
I hope y'all have a great afternoon.
Thank you.